The anime is about Yuichi, a second-year high school student who is born in poverty. In order to afford his basic means, he works hard on his multiple part-time jobs. But for the past few days he has been working even extra hard, so he can go on the school trip with his best friends. After submitting the fees barely in time, all of Yuichi's friends are very happy. We are introduced to Shibei, the son of a wealthy businessman, Shiho, the class vice president, Tenji, the top student of the class, and Kokorogi, the nice girl with whom anyone can get along. Despite being born in poverty, Yuichi considers himself a very lucky man because he is surrounded by such wonderful friends. He wants this friendship to last forever, but little does he know what is about to come will change this friendship forever. During the 6th class, the homeroom teacher announces the stealing of 2 million yen for the school trip. Shibei and Shiho were in charge of collecting the money and keeping it safe, but during the 5th period, someone stole the money from her locker while she was gone. She requests the thief to come forward, but even by the end of the day no one comes. For some reason, from the next day onward, both Shiho and Shibei stop coming to school. And as expected, the students start suspecting they are the ones who stole it. Yuichi and his friends can't even tell them otherwise because they too aren't able to contact both of them. At home, while Yuichi is busy doing his part-time job, someone knocks on his door. But upon checking, he only finds a letter, and it's from Shiho. Like asked, wearing his uniform he goes to the school and finds others as well. But to his surprise to them, he is the one who sent the letter to their homes. And just then, someone tastes Yuichi and then others as well. Lying on the floor and unable to save his dear friends, Yuichi remembers his mother's last words, that the most important thing in the world is friendship. The next he wakes up is in a white room along with others. And then, a dull kind of person named Manabu comes in. He tells them about a game in which everyone will receive 2 million yen for every round they complete. With this, they will be able to repay their 20 million yen debt. Yuichi is furious and demands what debt is he talking about. Manabu says someone among them has a 20 million yen debt. Tenji asks why on earth they have to believe someone who just kidnapped them. But Manabu laughs, because they are the one who wants to play this. In fact, he has already received the 2 million yen entry fee for it. Yuichi realizes it's the same amount as their school trip fund. Manabu does assure them they are free to not play this game, but then the entry fee will not be returned, as well as the debt won't be repaid. He gives them 5 minutes to make their decision. As Yuichi is about to ask whose debt it is, Shiho stops him and says they shouldn't figure out whose debt it is. The reason being, whoever it is, probably was in serious trouble and thought could rely on his best friends. Tenji also agrees, as well as Shibei. After all, they are best friends. However, Yuichi really wonders if friends are for these kinds of things. Seeing his expression, Manabu asks by any chance he is suspecting his friends. Yuichi defends himself saying he just wants to know who is behind it, that's all. Manabu finds it strange and asks if he does know who is responsible for this, will he just abandon that friend? He asks Yuichi what's the most important thing to him, friends or money. Yuichi sees a glimpse of his past. Afterwards, he says the most important thing to him are friends. With this, the game begins. They are led to a classroom where there is a famous Japanese game called the Yes and No game. They are given their name tags behind which is the individual debt amount that is just 20 million yen split into 5 people. As they clear the game, the debt will be reduced and eventually go to 0. However, they aren't allowed to show that number to anyone else, and if they do, their debt will be doubled. Before starting the first game, they do a demo. The demo question is if Hokkaido is Japan's northmost prefecture. Everyone knows it's true and moves the coin to the yes, which is indeed correct. But if in case any one person chooses the wrong answer, they all will fail. There are 5 questions in total. If they clear any one, they will win the game. There are certain rules that aren't to be broken, or their debt will be doubled. The first rule is, no other person other than the reader is allowed to speak until the game ends. The second rule is that if they win the first game, they will get 2 million yen and everyone's debts will go down by 400,000 at a time. But if they lose all 5 rounds, the person with the most debt has to take everyone else's too. Before starting the game, Manabu tells them they can either win the game by trusting each other, or by betraying and forcing the debt onto one person. With this, the first game begins. The first reader is Shibei. He gives a strange look, and then asks if the tallest mountain in Japan is Mount Fuji. This is an easy answer, but still the coin lands on no. Shiho is about to make some noise but is stopped by Yuichi and Tenji. Yuichi knows there is no way they can get that wrong, which only means someone deliberately chooses no. The second question is if 1 plus 1 is 2. Another easy question, but yet again, the coin lands on no. Yuichi is in a panic and confirms there is a traitor among them. The third question is if the English word for their country is Japan. Yet again the coin lands on no. At this rate, Yuichi fears his heart will again turn evil. And when it's his turn to read the fourth question, he sees there is no question, but it's the reader who chooses it. Below it, there are 2 more instructions. If the coin goes to yes, they will clear the game. But if the coin goes to no, only the reader's debt will be halved. Yuichi starts to understand all the readers until now were selfish who were trying to halve their own debt. He wonders if he should pick no as well, he can reduce his debt as well. Somewhere in a surveillance room, 2 girls are watching their group and loving Yuichi's facial reaction, the face filled with doubt about his friends. Yuichi asks the fourth question, if a week is 7 days long. He decides not to be selfish, because as a true friend, he needs to make sure all burden doesn't fall on the 5th reader, that is Kokorogi. He goes with yes, however, yet again the coin lands on no. Yuichi is freaking out and wonders why is someone trying to dump all the debt on Kokorogi. But there is also that if the 5th question is similar to theirs, then all the debts will balance out. Or maybe 5th question is indeed different. And Yuichi is absolutely correct. Thus the 5th question starts, which also means if they get the wrong answer in this one the game is over. Kokorogi asks the 5th question if they will always be friends. As they are about to choose, Yuichi breaks the speaking rule and asks if they know what color underwear Shiho is wearing today. He tells Shibei and Tenji to say please if they want to know it. But he knows they will not, or else they will too break the rule and all the work they did to reduce their debt will come back. He reveals one of them is a traitor who was trying to put all the debt on Kokorogi. But now it will not work because he is the one with the most debt. And if this game is over, the traitor will be the loser. After all, it was written on his card about a rule change, that the last place penalty will go to the person with the least debt. Maria does not think anyone will take this bluff, but Tsukino tells her to put herself in their shoes. Imagine you've succeeded in reducing your debt and are about to win. But as you are about to pull the trigger on the last person, you realize that it's you who is being hunted. This trap laid by Yuichi will not allow the traitor to pick no. With a menacing look, Yuichi tells everyone to pick yes. And the coin finally lands on yes. Maria wonders who this boy is. In order to clear the game, he paid quite a price and planted a seed of doubt among his friends that one of them is a traitor. Strangely, Yuichi tells them there is no traitor among them and that he was only joking. He thinks everyone was nervous, that's why they lost the first 4 rounds. He asks them about their debt, and Tenji reports his to be 3.6 million after deducting the winnings of 400,000. Similarly, others also report the same. Everyone thinks this means only Yuichi has doubled his debt, but he clarifies, it's 3.6 as well. His balance was indeed doubled when he spoke in the middle of the game, but during the 4th round, he had a condition to halve his balance. So in the end, after subtracting the winnings, his debt is at 3.6 million. Yuichi knows even though they are reporting the same debt, they are definitely lying. With this, they all go to the second game except Yuichi, who stays to tie his laces. No way he believes others told the truth, so he checks their cards. However, the ink starts to disappear. Just then, Shiho comes. She also thinks there is a traitor among them and asks Yuichi who he suspects. Yuichi bluntly tells Shiho it's her whom he suspects the most. Because she is the one who said they shouldn't discuss whose debt it is. The friend he knew would never forgive the thief who stole the school trip fund and forcefully put them in this game. Shiho apologizes for that, but the reason she didn't want to bring up that topic was because she thought it's Yuichi who stole it. Yuichi asks if it's because he is poor, and she had pity. Shiho doesn't think like that at all. The real reason is that she loves him very much. Yuichi freaks out and apologizes for suspecting her. Shiho says there is one more thing she has to apologize for. Her debt is not 3.6 million but 7.6. Yuichi is confused. If the conditions he received to halve his debt were similar for Shiho, then her debt should be 1.6 million. But instead, it's double. Shiho believes the reason is because she made the noise earlier. She knows he was trying to protect Kokorogi in the fifth question, but in reality, he was protecting her. She assures him she will never betray him and that he can trust her. For the second game, they go to the roof, where Manabu explains the second game. In this, they are going to spill out all the secrets they have been hiding about their friends in front of the viewers. The game is played in periods. Once you enter the private room, you have to submit a bad mouth card and can only leave after the 3-minute timer. After the cards are collected and read, there will be a survey with the viewers that will vote on who is the most punishable. As per the votes, the players will move respective spaces. In order to complete the game, you need at least one person to reach the goal. And like the previous game, everyone will receive 400,000. However, those who will be standing on the board will get an additional million and will not play the third round and go home. And the ones who have reached the goal will suffer even massive losses, which will be revealed later. Alongside these rules, you can write as many things as you want about anyone. It can be a truth like Kokorogi's bra size is G-cup, as well as a lie such as Shibei is wearing a wig. But if the lie is revealed, the game will be over and the person who wrote it will reach the goal. You may also submit a blank card, and in that case, everyone will move one space ahead. But if anyone betrays, all the others who left it blank will be at a huge disadvantage. Hearing this, Shiho is nervous, so Yuichi comforts her. But on seeing this, Shibei gives a strange look, and then says everything will be fine. In the first round, everyone submits a blank card and they all move one space ahead. Then a notification comes saying players who stop on this stop will lose 100,000. Manabu didn't specifically said earlier, but other than the rules, it's a normal Sugoroku game. This means, if they keep on moving one space ahead, who knows how much debt they may acquire by the time they reach the goal. For the second round, everyone yet again submits blanks, and they move one space ahead. This time, they all lose 500,000. Everyone is now worried. Manabu tells them all of the debt added during the game will be given to whoever reaches the goal first. And thus in the third round, finally there are 2 cards filled. The first is about Shiho having a crush on Yuichi. And the second one says Shiho was in a relationship with Tenji. Everyone is in shock, especially Shibei. The reason is, Shibei is in love with Shiho and everyone in the group knows about it. The results from the survey come out, and Shiho is the most unforgivable and moves 5 spaces ahead while others move only 1. A notification comes saying, Shiho doesn't gain or lose anything. Shibei confronts Yuichi because he doesn't like how despite knowing he liked Shiho, both of them were mocking him by keeping him in the dark about it. Tenji reminds Shibei it's not good to be jealous. But then Shibei gets furious, asking who he is to say this, when he was dating her. Shiho clarifies that Tenji and her relationship were not serious. It was only because of their father's promise to each other. So they were only pretending to date, until Tenji's father died and he had to change his school. It's only in the high school they again met. Hearing this, Shibei asks Manabu if this is not a lie and the one who wrote should be punished. However, it's only when none of them had any romantic feelings for each other. Shiho didn't had any, but Tenji was in love with her. Actually, he confesses that even now he loves her. And that's why whenever he saw Shibei flirting with Shiho he couldn't stand him. Shibei is furious and asks, then why he didn't tell him in person and wrote it on paper. However, Tenji isn't the one who wrote it. He thinks it's Shibei who got jealous on hearing the rumors and wanted to test out using the card. Because he couldn't accept the fact, he was friend-zoned. Shibei gets furious and is about to attack when Yuichi stops him. On the other side, Kokorogi asks Shiho why all boys have a thing for her. Now that she thinks, Yuichi also probably loves her as well. In the fourth round, after everyone submits their cards, this time there are 3 filled ones. First is, Shibei used to bathe with his mother until he was in junior high. Second is, Yuichi didn't bath for a week. And third is about Shiho doing plastic surgery. The results come out and everyone moves to their respective spaces. Shibei believes the card about plastic surgery is a lie. But then Shiho asks what if it is not? Would he then have a crush on her or even become a friend? Maria wonders if something like this would even destroy friendship. But then Tsukino says, friendships aren't of unconditional love. If you want to have friends, you always seek something from them. It could be because you want someone who can make you laugh, or when you are avoiding being bullied, or you want to hang out with the prettiest girl, or when you want to be the smartest among your group. Friendship is more calculative than romance. You don't want friends that don't offer any advantage. Now looking from this perspective, Maria does think it's true. In the 5th round, there is only one submission. And this one is very serious. It's about Kokorogi having engaged in compensated dating in junior high. Everyone is in shock to hear it. Kokorogi is devastated to see her dark past coming in front of everyone. Kokorogi accuses Shiho of writing it, because she is the only one who knows about it. But Shiho swears she didn't write it. Shibei finds it amazing that someone as innocent as her used to date adults for money. Hearing this, Tenji punches Shibei, and furiously asks how dare he say this about his own friend. Tenji requests Yuichi to comfort Kokorogi. The results come out, with Kokorogi in the first place and moving 5 spaces while others move 1 space. At the end of the 5th round, Shiho is leading the board at 13 spaces. Kokorogi tells Yuichi she really needed the money so she could get away from her bullies. She paid them, and it worked. They started treating her nicely. Her family is not that well off, so she had to find someone who can give her the money. She swears all she did was go on dinner, wearing outfits he told her to, and sometimes he touched her. But she swears she never went any further than that. Kokorogi begs Yuichi to not abandon her or she'll be alone again. Yuichi assures her no matter what, he'll never abandon her. Then he says something in her ears, which makes Maria and the viewers go restless to know what it is. Even though Shiho said she didn't write it, Kokorogi wants to stay away from her. Heartbroken Shiho is comforted by Tenji. Out of all people, he knows she is not the one to disclose others' secrets. Shiho thanks him for believing her. In the surveillance room, Maria is getting excited to see their friendship getting messy. But it's not to forget that there is also the person who is deliberately trying to destroy the friendship in this group. In the first game, the traitor might not be intending to dump the debt onto a single person, but to destroy the friendship between the 5 of them. We finally see the person behind this is Tenji. He wants to destroy their friendship, that's why he stole the 2 million in the first place. He is the one who wrote about Shiho's surgery. It was not cosmetic but to cover her face scar she got in junior high. He is the only one who knows it. Not only that, he knows everything about Shiho. Who does she talk to? Where does she go? The gift he gave her had a listening device. He has been listening to her, even when Kokorogi told Shiho about her secret. He just can't wait for all relations of Shiho to break into pieces, and finally, when there is no one, he will come to her saying those sweet things and gain her complete trust. Now that Tenji has destroyed Kokorogi's feelings toward Shiho, what's left is to do the same from the other side. He tells Shiho that he suspects it might be Kokorogi herself who wrote it. Because this way, she has gotten close to Yuichi. Remembering Kokorogi's reaction, Shiho also thinks so. It's all to gain sympathy from Yuichi. And because he is an innocent and sweet boy, he won't be able to refuse Kokorogi's feelings. In the 6th round, the first one to go is Tenji. Now that he has started the fire, what's left is to make it worse. But then he realizes how currently he is the only one at the last place with no card written against him. So to avoid suspicion, he decides to write something about himself. After 3 minutes, As Tenji goes out, he sees Yuichi slapping Shiho for accusing Kokorogi of writing the card about herself. Shiho warns Yuichi that girls can go to any length to get their love. But Yuichi doesn't want to hear anything else. Seeing their relationship getting worse, Tenji could not be more glad. He resumes his act and apologizes to Shiho for feeding that possibility into her mind. But Shiho can see how Kokorogi is playing the innocent girl act to get Yuichi's attention. After Tenji, others go to write the card as well. After the round, there are 2 cards submitted. First is, Shiho usually wears men's boxers. And clearly, it's Kokorogi who wrote it. The second one is about Tenji lying about his age. Actually, he is 1 year older, after he had to drop off due to family reasons. He begins his act, and asks Shiho if she is the one who wrote it. After all, she is the only one to know it. Shiho swears she isn't the one who wrote it. She begs him to not lose his trust in her. Tenji assures her he will not, and says it's probably someone else who wants to blame her. After the results come out, Shiho is at first, Tenji at second, and others are third. Shiho receives a special chance to nominate 1 member from the group, including herself, after which a secret of that person will be exposed. Tenji is freaking out, because if he's picked it will be revealed he is the one who stole the money and applied for this game. Manabu suggests Shiho to choose someone whom she trusts, because then the chance of him being guilty will be very low and nobody will be hurt. All the trust Tenji has built is now proving to be fatal. But as Shiho is about to pick him, Shibei comes forward and volunteers to be picked so others can trust him again. After Shiho chooses him, multiple images come out about Shibei's father being involved in multiple affairs, taking bribes and currently throwing a lot of money to cover up a scandal of his. Shibei is devastated. Shiho tries to comfort him, saying it's his father's fault, not him. But then Tenji takes her way, warning her to stay away from people like Shibei. He plants another seed of doubt, that Shibei is the one who forced everyone to join this game so he can help his father with the money he needs to hide the scandal. Shibei swears he is not the one who did it, but his intentions to rebuild trust miserably fail. After the survey with the viewers, the standings are Shiho at 18 spaces followed by Shibei at 17. In the 7th round, there is 1 card and it's about Shibei having killed multiple people. Tenji is surprised because he is not the one who wrote it. He wanted to deal the final blow, but for this round, he didn't write anything. He knows if there is someone in the group capable of writing, it's Yuichi. The viewers are going crazy on hearing this. Shibei swears he didn't kill anyone, and the person who wrote this line must get a penalty. Tenji is laughing because this way Yuichi will be exposed. However, Manabu then tells Shibei, it's only a lie if he can either prove it or if the person who wrote comes forward. Shibei has no way of proving it, and swears in front of the viewers he didn't kill anyone. But despite this, the viewers find him guilty, and put him in the first place at 22 spaces. Yuichi comforts Shibei, saying he knows he didn't kill anyone. But he tells Shibei that there is a traitor among them who is trying to destroy their friendship and he has figured out who is it. Tenji is freaking out. Shibei asks who is the traitor, but when Yuichi says he can't say it now, Tenji has relief, and confirms Yuichi is just bluffing. Yuichi says, instead of telling who it is, he has figured out how to win the game. This game isn't fair at all. At every step, they are being put into more debt than they can recover from the game. And even if from now, they submit blank cards, it will be Shibei who will come first. But Yuichi has a solution for this. In this game they don't know who wrote what, but what if they made it so they could? From now on, except Shibei, everyone else will write a bad thing about themselves. This way, if the traitor writes something else, they will figure out who it is. It's not a perfect strategy, but this way they can stop trying to hurt each other. After the round is complete, as per Yuichi's prediction, there should be 4 cards. However, there are 10. On one side, Yuichi is freaking out. On the other side, Tenji can't stop laughing because Yuichi had too many holes in his stupid plan. Even Manabu tells Yuichi he is pretty dumb for a high schooler. Tenji now asks Yuichi to reveal who is the one behind it, but Yuichi admits he was bluffing and doesn't know who it is. Tenji just takes away Shiho and tells her that they can't even rely on Yuichi anymore. Tenji is bursting out with excitement. Just some more steps and Shiho will lose everyone close to her. For the next 10 rounds, no one speaks to anyone and the game proceeds as the traitor intended. By the 19th round, Shiho is in first place again and just one space away from the goal. Even if everyone puts a blank card, Shiho is bound to lose. But something seems strange. Tsukino tells Maria to immediately rewind the video, and on seeing it, she is in shock and wonders who on earth is this Yuichi. Before going for the final card, Yuichi has something to say. He has found a way for the traitor to expose itself. As per the rules, if any player is revealed to have lied in the cards, he or she will receive the penalty and reach the goal. This is the last round, so they will write the same thing on the card with their names on it. There will only be one person for it'll be true. And the thing they will write will be, "I'm the one who applied to play this game." Yuichi has figured out the traitor wants to destroy their friendship, which also means the applicant must also be the traitor. So if they all write the same thing, except the traitor, everyone will be forced to move to the third game. That's why he had to wait until there was only one space left. Tenji is in a panic. He asks how they can prove they aren't the one to apply. Yuichi replies that the management certainly knows who is the one. They can testify against it. Yuichi only wants to play the third game with his true friends and not with the traitor. Yuichi gives the card to Tenji and tells him to go ahead first. After all, he is the one Shiho trusts the most. With calmness, Tenji goes inside. However, he is freaking out. He never saw this coming and wonders what he should do. He decides to write as he is told, and when he is exposed to be a traitor, he will tell them someone else blackmailed him to do it. He will get on his knees and cry. Knowing Yuichi, he will definitely listen to him. After everyone has written, the cards are collected. Tenji is ready to begin his act, but soon finds out that there is just one card filled and it is by him, saying he is the one who applied for this game. Tenji is confused and asks what's happening. Yuichi says this was the trap to expose the traitor. Tenji gets on his knees and begins his acting. He starts crying, and as he is about to say something, Yuichi grabs his hair and asks if he is the one who applied for the game. Tenji is scared to see Yuichi's face and admits he is the one who applied. Even before the second game began, Yuichi started setting traps to smoke out the traitor. And during the third round, when the card said about Shiho and Tenji being a couple, he decided to work with Shiho without others knowing. It was a possibility that Shiho could have been the traitor, that's why he tested her first. The first instruction he wrote on the card was to expose the secret he told her a while ago. And it was him not taking a bath for a week. In the fourth round, when the question came about her plastic surgery, it was very likely it was not from her, and he started trusting her more. Next, he wanted to determine if Kokorogi was the traitor or not. In the fifth round, he told her Shiho was on their side. But he still told her to keep pretend fighting with her to smoke out the traitor. And in the sixth round, he told her to submit a secret that she knew about Shiho, which was her wearing boxer pants. After that, a card came about Tenji being 1 year older than the rest, which could only be written by either Shibei or Tenji himself. Tenji asks when on earth they were passing these cards when he was with Shiho all this time. Yuichi tells him they had 3 whole minutes. And when the suspects were narrowed to Tenji and Shibei, the special chance came. Since the management knew who applied to play this game, it would have been too risky for the traitor to volunteer, so after that, what was left was only Tenji. Tenji asks then what about the stupid plan of his he came up in the 8th round. Well, Yuichi clearly knew the strategy had holes in it. But he just wanted a confirmation as to why the traitor applied for the game. Was it for money or for something else? And when the traitor didn't back off and instead wrote 10 more cards, Yuichi realized it was not for money. One thing is still bugging Tenji. Because a single person can write as many things as possible, there is no way Yuichi could have trusted Shiho and Kokorogi completely. Yuichi knows it, and that's why he made them prove their friendship. They gave their tag to him as a trust, even though if he had looked at their numbers it would have doubled their debt. This was the final proof they weren't traitors. Tenji asks him why he decided to test Shiho first, not him. because this means he was suspicious of him from the very start. Yuichi knows everyone and their personality. The Tenji he knows is smart and calm, who would break a fight instead of making it worse. But when he picked a fight with Shibei at the very start, it was a clear sign to him that something was off. Now they are back to the game. Manabu tells them even now Shiho is the one who will clear the game alone. However, Yuichi tells something to Manabu. After confirming what he said with Maria and Tsukino, Manabu declares Yuichi is the winner and the game is over. Everyone wonders how this is possible, but in the 7th round, Yuichi wrote a lie about Shibei having killed someone. Shiho is worried and says this is not how he said they will win the game. Tenji did betray them, but Yuichi doesn't have the right to say anything to him. In reality, he is the one who has killed 3 people. Everyone is in shock. Shibei asks Yuichi how dare he was hanging out with them with the fake smile of his. Tenji defends Yuichi and says there are circumstances that can't be prevented. A spoiled kid won't understand it. He tells Shibei to worry about his father's scandal. Shibei gets pissed and attacks Tenji. Seeing all this, Yuichi says he doesn't need any friends and is breaking up with them. All this time he wanted to have friends because his mother told him how important friends are. But he had enough. Manabu warns Yuichi, the 3rd game is going to be insanely tough for a single person. But Yuichi doesn't care. All he wants is to destroy their management from now on. Manabu gives a cheeky smile and tells others to say something encouraging to Yuichi for his 3rd game, but nobody wants to be friends with a killer. But as he is about to jump, Tenji stops him and tells Manabu he also lied in a game, when he said he dated Shiho. But in his entire life, he never had any feelings for her. After this, together with Yuichi, he jumps off. We go back to Yuichi's past, when his aunt, or whom he also called his mother, always told him that the most important thing is friends. However, his uncle said it was money, which Yuichi liked better. Back in the present, upon arriving at the bottom of the hole, they find themselves inside a cage. Soon Manabu tells them they are going to stay inside the cage for 3 days, with only a bottle to survive on. After he leaves, Tenji decides to explain the reason he betrayed everyone. It's actually his 2nd time playing this game, and he blames Shiho for it because she stole the most precious thing from him. It all began in junior high. He had 2 best friends with whom he was planning to do business. He saved up about 1 million yen and wanted to use it to raise more money for their business. Their friendship was great, and he thought it would last forever. But then, Shiho came and his friends started behaving weirdly. They started asking questions about his relationship with her, for which he had to explain to them his relationship with Shiho was just because of their parents. After this, one of his friends made a bet that whoever made the first 20 million would get the chance to propose to Shiho. Tenji didn't know how serious this bet would become, so he agreed to play. But suddenly one day, he and his friends were in the white room with one of them having a 10 million debt. They lost the first game, and since he had the highest debt he was forced to pay the 10 million by himself. As a minor, Tenji had to pay with 10 million yen worth of his life. 2 days later he was released after enduring the inhumane things they made him do. After this, he confronted his friends and got to know they both had borrowed the money and had spent it on Shiho. After Tenji's friends transferred, Shiho started asking him all sorts of questions about his friends, and why they transferred. For some reason, she was persistent about knowing what happened, almost as if she was trying to mock him. He ended up telling her everything. After this, when he told his father about the game, he went to Shiho's father for help. However, the next day, his dead body was found, and was declared he committed suicide. Tenji knew it wasn't a suicide, it all happened after he went to Shiho's home. Also, the one in charge of the case was Shiho's father. Tenji realized that either Shiho's father, or Shiho as well, were involved in his father's death. He decided to investigate Shiho thoroughly, but soon received an email from an unknown sender, threatening him to stay away from Shiho, or he'd disappear just like his father. That's why he stole the 2 million yen and applied to play the game so he could corner Shiho and get the information about his father. Hearing this, Yuichi feels kinda bad for messing up Tenji's plan. But Tenji doesn't think so. Tenji asks Manabu their total debt, and it's about 10.8 million, which doesn't add up. Taking everyone's first game debt at their face value and adding their debt accumulated in the second game, their total debt should be 18.8 million, which doesn't match. This means someone is lying. The time Tenji eavesdropped their conversation, he believes Shiho lied about her debt at that time. If that's true, then Yuichi is amazed by her acting skills. But only if Tenji is telling the truth. For Yuichi, Tenji is the one who is ruining the friendship and is the traitor. It's all possible everything he said now is all a lie, so he can't trust him this easily. Tenji knows that regaining trust is not going to be easy. That's why he followed him here, so he can avenge his father's death. Tenji do think Yuichi is a dangerous person considering he killed 3 people, but he also knows Yuichi has the strength to destroy this organization. But when Yuichi refuses to help, Tenji shows his debt amount to him as proof of his trust. He is willing to be used by Yuichi because he is his last and only hope. Yuichi tells him to stop begging and requests some time to think over it. Around 60 hours later, Yuichi agrees to avenge Tenji's father's death, but only if Tenji will apologize to everyone when they get home. Tenji agrees, and Yuichi promises he is going to clear this third game no matter what. After 72 hours of surviving on just a bottle of water, they arrive somewhere in a forest. Soon Manabu also comes. Inside the surveillance room, a big melons lady joins Tsukino to watch over the third game. Before this, she was observing Group K, and based on their performance she bet her group will win this game. The game is about friendly hide and seek. Each team will choose one hider who will hide somewhere in this vast forest. Obviously having more members is an advantage, but because of Group C's second round performance, they deserve this disadvantage. Now, there are certain rules. First is, you cannot use violence against your opponent. Second is, once the hider has settled, he cannot change its location. Everyone is allowed to contact using the phones to either their friends or their enemy. There is a food station from which they can eat whenever they want, as well as can bring that food to their hider's hideout. In case the hider is at its limit, he can also press the give up button. And lastly, if it looks like your team is going to lose, seekers can switch sides to the enemy team. In that case, if that team wins, the person who switched won't be moving to round 4, but all his debt will fall upon his original team members. Before starting the game, there is a player from another group who has made it alone. Manabu asks Group C if they want to let the player join them. Tenji is against the idea, but Yuichi asks if that person is a girl and pretty. On knowing she is, he decides to let her in. Tenji freaks out because they can't trust a stranger. But Yuichi knows it would be impossible for the two of them to win. The girl comes and it's Maria in disguise, who is sent by the management to keep an eye on Yuichi. But seeing how easily he accepted a stranger in his team, the big melons lady is laughing and asking how on earth he is the rumored genius. The true genius is in her group, which will soon show his true ability. Back in the forest, it's decided, from the Group K, their captain is the hider, and from Group C Tenji is the hider. Both teams receive 2 hours to hide. After a lot of searching, they are able to find a place to hide. They don't bring Maria with them just to be safe. Yuichi knows it's going to be difficult to win with just 2 seekers, but out of all, it's up to Tenji how much he can handle. He has to keep holding on and make sure he doesn't press the give up button. Tenji promises he won't press it because Yuichi is his last hope to avenge his father. And this way he will prove his loyalty and build trust with him again. After this, Yuichi leaves. However, even after 2 days later, Yuichi still doesn't come. Tenji inside the cave is wondering what could have happened. There is no sign of the other team finding him either. But even so, he wonders why Yuichi didn't bring him the food and water. He wonders if Yuichi has betrayed him by switching teams and is intentionally abusing him for betraying him. Tenji starts to suspect Yuichi is probably eating with that cute girl and laughing at him while he is suffering here. Tenji is about to press the give up button but stops, and first decides to call. However, no matter how many times he calls, Yuichi isn't answering. With every passing second, Tenji starts becoming more pessimistic. Soon, he receives a call from Yuichi. However, the dialer is Kei, one of the members of the Kei group. Kei tells Tenji about Yuichi's plan to abandon him. He even shares, Yuichi hasn't even left the food station and is eating and relaxing with that cute girl for the past 2 days. Tenji is devastated. His doubt becomes worse when Kei shares about knowing Tenji had betrayed Yuichi in the second round and now he is taking his revenge. Tenji is about to press the button, but then thinks for a second why Yuichi hasn't directly contacted him. He hangs up the phone and decides to wait. On the other side, Kei was hoping to get an easy win with this, but he knows Tenji will soon give up. After all, they have the perfect strategy. We go back to the first day, when their captain, Juzo, developed a sure win strategy. Everyone trusts the captain's intelligence and planning. The strategy was, instead of finding the hider, because no one knows how vast this forest is, they will focus on keeping an eye on seekers and tag them throughout the time. Because this way, either the enemy hider will not receive any food supply and press the give up button, or they will find out the hideout. Chisato and Taro are the fastest runners, so they were assigned to monitor the food station. The reason is also because their friendship and loyalty towards each other is the strongest. The Big Melons lady was as impressed as ever and can't stop praising their leader. Because they are in the same basketball team, their friendship is the strongest. She was so confident of winning that she even went on to say they would win in 3 days. Back in the present, it has been 3 days since the third game began. The Big Melons lady is still optimistic about Tenji pressing the button. However, inside the cave, Yuichi is finally able to arrive. Tenji is proud of himself that he trusted Yuichi. The Big Melons lady is in shock, because Tenji is hallucinating. She can see how much Tenji is waiting for Yuichi, but since the game began, Yuichi hasn't left the food station at all. He has also been babbling the information on Tenji. She is thinking maybe Yuichi is really intending to abandon Tenji. But there is one thing bothering her, it's Maria's report. She said only one thing, and that's, Yuichi is even crazier than she thought. Back in the forest, surprisingly, Yuichi wants to switch groups. The Big Melons lady is surprised as well as happy to hear it. Because if Yuichi joins her team, then their victory will be inevitable. Back in the forest, Chisato asks the reason, and Yuichi gives the reason of wanting revenge on Tenji for the previous game. As long as one person from the other team agrees, Yuichi can join the group. But if that happens, Yuichi will no longer be able to go back to his original team. There is mixed feelings among Group K, so Kei decides to call the captain for his decision. Suddenly, Yuichi starts laughing and asks them if they can't even make such a simple decision without their idiot captain's help. Yuichi is clearly provoking them, and it seems to be working because Taro is now furious. He can't hear any bad things about their captain and is about to punch Yuichi, but Kei stops him and reminds him about the rule of no violence. Kei can clearly see what Yuichi was intending to do. After calling the captain, he relays the captain has decided Yuichi will not join the team. Because even without him, they will definitely win. But if he still wants to join, Maria will also have to switch, so this way Yuichi won't be able to play any tricks. Maria can see Group K's captain has already seen through the plan, however, Yuichi had already predicted all of this. 2 days ago, after Tenji had hidden, Yuichi shared his plan with Maria. For the next 2 days, they decided not to do anything and intended to give the impression they had no will to fight them. And on the third day, he will try to switch sides. Obviously, he wasn't going to betray Tenji, but if he is able to switch, he planned to find out their hiding spot and tell her. But he also knew the chances of this happening were very low, because Group K had probably figured the sure way to win the game. But in order for him to win, he demanded Maria's utmost loyalty. Maria was getting excited, and swore she would. After this, Yuichi shared his plan, and on hearing it, Maria couldn't believe how crazy this human was. Back in the present, Yuichi refuses to switch teams along with Maria. These 2 days, even though Yuichi didn't take any physical action, all this time he was making small talks with others, in order to get an understanding of their personality and weak points. The following day, Banri and Kei are on the way to deliver food to their captain, while others are keeping an eye on Maria and Yuichi. After Chisato goes to check on Maria, Yuichi starts talking with Taro, complimenting on how good his teamwork is. Knowing that Taro has huge respect towards his captain, Yuichi compliments the captain, and as he expected, Taro gets flattered to hear it. But then Yuichi asks him why they are playing this game, because this means one of them has a debt. Taro never really put thought into it. But just then, Chisato comes reminding him that discussing whose debt is forbidden. After this, their role changes, and Taro goes to keep an eye on Maria. But upon arriving, he is stunned to see she is not there and goes to find her. When he finally finds her, she is undressing. Taro becomes totally red. He runs away from there, and tells Chisato he can't do this. Seeing this, Yuichi signals Maria. He starts running and Taro goes after him, while Chisato after Myra. Soon their paths merge. Chisato and Taro are confident on their legs, but then shockingly, Yuichi pushes Maria off the edge. Inside the cave, as Tenji is about to press the give up button, he asks himself what will change even after he presses it. He tells himself he has to trust Yuichi no matter what. And then, Yuichi finally comes. He gives an update to Tenji on what has been happening. And the reason Yuichi didn't tell Tenji the plan from early on was to test his loyalty. And now, he can trust him again. For his further plan, Yuichi shares that from now on, Taro will be the key piece in his strategy. After analyzing his personality and relationship with others, a hot-headed person, who is compassionate as well as respectful towards women, is the best tool that will help him in destroying Team K's friendship. On the other side, Taro grabs Maria's hand, but because he doesn't have enough strength to pull her up, he asks Chisato's help. Chisato wants to follow Yuichi, but because he always agrees on the same thing as Taro, he decides to help and successfully lift Maria. With this, Maria begins her act. She thanks Chisato for saving her, but when he tells her it's Taro whom she should thank, she glares at Taro and says he was peeking at her while she was about to bathe. Taro swears it was not intentional and apologizes. Maria laughs and assures him she is just joking. Taro feels much better, but on seeing her terrified face, he is pissed at Yuichi. As they walk back to the food station, seeing her leg is hurt, Taro gives her a piggyback ride. After explaining the situation to Kei, soon after Yuichi returns. He furiously orders Maria to come to him. Looking at Maria's terrified face, Taro warns Yuichi to stay away from her. But when he refuses, and says Maria is his property, Taro is about to hit him, but then Maria comes in the way and warns Taro about Yuichi's intention of disqualifying him. And then, Yuichi grabs Maria's hair and yells at her for messing up his plan. Even though there is violence, it's within the same team so it doesn't break the rule. Taro insists Maria to switch teams, but Chisato stops him. He suspects something is off about this whole thing. He has quite an experience dating girls, so he has a feeling Maria is acting. Taro gets pissed and tells him he doesn't want to hear from someone who lives an easy life on his father's money and screws around with girls. Chisato doesn't like this at all, and tells Taro, a person who hasn't popped his cherry won't understand when he is being fooled. Taro grabs Chisato's shirt, but then Kei stops them and says they should ask their captain before making any decision. Using this chance, Yuichi again provokes them for asking their captain even about whether to protect a single girl or not. And like he wanted, Taro stops Kei and insists on talking to the captain by himself. After Kei and Taro leaves, Yuichi is happy with the progress of his plan. As per it, Group K will not allow Maria to switch, but this will only make Taro to switch his team to protect her. And once that happens, he has multiple ways to get the location of the captain. 30 minutes later, as Yuichi planned, Captain refuses the switch and Taro goes against his friends, and decides to join Group C. Even after switching, Taro swears he doesn't plan on letting Yuichi win and will help Group K win this game. The moment Yuichi accepts the switch, Taro goes straight to attack him, but Yuichi easily counters and shows him the difference in their strength. After tying him up, Maria thanks Taro for doing this for her, but she warns him that Yuichi will do everything possible to make him spill the captain's location. Even if Taro wants to tell, he cannot, because he doesn't know the location of their captain. Yuichi, hearing this conversation, is in shock. Somewhere inside a cave, we finally see the mastermind of Group K is not their captain but K. In the surveillance room, the Big Melons lady is laughing at seeing Yuichi's confused face. Instead of taking Taro to the cave, K stopped midway and let him have a call with the captain. Yuichi didn't put much thought, but now remembering back, he figures out the mastermind is K, who was controlling every movement. He calls K about now knowing his identity. But K is laughing, because the moment Yuichi took Taro in his group, he lost the game. K, the man who was manipulating Juzo from the shadows, a prodigy who only decided to play this game just because he was bored. Yuichi is panicking because this is the worst possible thing he imagined. Now that Taro is in Group C, he can attack anyone in Group K and they'll lose immediately. He has tied him up, but now they would have to watch him 24/7. He thinks they should hide him immediately, but then Chisato and Banri come. The next morning, as Maria goes to pee, Kei stops her and asks if she is from the management. For the 3 days they stayed in the cell, they were handed food based on the number of members qualified. And considering Group C had 2 and was only given water, he finds it difficult to see a single member not starving at all. Maria is amazed he figured it out and asks what he needs. Kei wants Maria to betray Group C. Even without her help they will definitely win, but he wants to finish this game quickly as he is getting bored. And considering she is not a player, by joining his team he promises to show her Yuichi's pathetic face when he'll lose. Maria is indeed excited. Soon after, Yuichi receives a call from her asking about Tenji's location. She is alone and thinks she can deliver the food to him. Without putting much thought, he gives her the location. But then, she comes and tells it to Kei. Yuichi is devastated to see this. Without wasting any time, everyone goes to search for Tenji. After hours, Tenji receives a call from Kei, who again tells him how Yuichi is planning to do something evil. Tenji is not going to be fooled and yells at him saying he trusts Yuichi. But then, Kei enters the cave and finds Tenji. Soon after, Manabu declares the game is over. Everyone gathers, and the winner of the third game is Group C. Everyone is in shock. Kei in a panic says they are the ones who found the hider. It's indeed true, however, that's not the only way you can win. Earlier in the day, after everyone left, Yuichi stopped pretending to act and resumed his plan. Yuichi called the captain and told him to press the give up button. Obviously, he refused and then Yuichi threatened to punch Taro. The captain thought Yuichi was bluffing. Even when Yuichi kept beating Taro and the sound was coming, the captain didn't trust and asked to have a call with Taro. But when he heard Taro's voice wavering, the captain began to worry. And then, Yuichi decided to go more dirty and threatened to break Taro's fingers. He heard from him how there was an upcoming tournament and Taro had practiced a lot to impress his captain. But if he doesn't have any fingers, his game would be over. The captain was furious. As Yuichi started counting down, the captain still thought it was a bluff, but then as the countdown hit 0, he heard a snapping noise. It was a similar noise he could never forget. After all, it costed him his tournament. The captain got emotional and apologized to Taro. And when Yuichi was about to break the second finger, the captain agreed to press the button. Back in the present, the captain apologizes to everyone for pressing the button and keeps beating Yuichi for what he did to Taro. But Taro stops him and reveals it's Yuichi who broke his own finger. In the midst of all this, Kei is furious and calls the captain useless. He asks why he is to lose because of someone else's stupidity. But then Banri, his older brother, comes and disciplines him. If the captain hadn't pressed the button, they all would have lost respect for him. After they leave, it's revealed Yuichi from the start knew Maria was from the management. For someone who was supposed to be a normal student stuck in this game, she followed his difficult instructions without any complaint. Now, he wants her to tell the management that he is going to crush their organization. After Maria leaves, Tenji is glad to see even though Yuichi said he would destroy their friendship, he still didn't. He knew Yuichi is a good man. However, this isn't true. If the captain hadn't pressed the button, he definitely would have broken Taro's finger. For completing round 3, Both of them are allowed to go home, but until round 4 they aren't allowed to tell anyone about the game, or else someone closer to them will be in trouble. They are released the next morning somewhere in a park. From there, they go to school and find Kokorogi. She gets emotional and tells them both Shiho and Shibei have stopped coming to school. 1 week earlier, after the completion of round 2, when they returned to the school, everyone suspected Shiho and Shibei to be the ones who stole the money. In defense, Shibei was about to tell them it was Tenji, but Shiho stopped him or else he would have talked about the game. So in order to pay back the money, Shibei promised to return it with his father's help. However, after 2 days, Shibei's dad was arrested because someone leaked all his scandal info. And after that, everyone started bullying him for his father's actions. Shiho tried to stand up for him, but then she too stopped coming to school. Yuichi figures out that in order to get the money, Shibei likely told his father about the game. He decides to meet him and goes to Shibei's house, but there he sees that Shibei is being arrested for killing his father. And as Shibei is about to tell Yuichi something, Shiho's father stops him and before leaving, threatens both Tenji and Yuichi to stay away from this matter, if they care about their loved ones. On the way, Kokorogi catches up with them and asks about Shibei, as well as what happened in Game 3. However, instead of telling her, Yuichi asks why would he tell someone who looked at him with disgust when it was found he was a murderer. Kokorogi was indeed scared when she heard the truth, but she still waited for them. However, Yuichi calls her a burden that he doesn't want for further games. He tells her to get lost and leaves. At home, Yuichi believes this is the best way to keep his friends away from the game, as lives are on the line. Just then, Tenji receives a call and it's from Manabu, calling them for a special game. It's optional, but if Yuichi doesn't come, Manabu threatens something bad will happen to Kokorogi. Yuichi agrees to come and upon arriving at the location, there are a lot of people as well as the person who pretended to be Manabu. His name is Kuroki, the leader of this gang. Before getting into the rules of the game, he rips off Kokorogi's shirt. Yuichi gets furious, but Kuroki stops him. With this, Kuroki proceeds to explain the rules. The game will consist of 3 rounds of torture Yuichi has to go through. If he is able to endure the pain without giving up, they both are free to go. However, there is a way to lessen the burden. It's up to Kokorogi whom she wants to send to endure the pain. If she chooses herself, she will receive 3 times less pain than Yuichi. In all of this, both of them aren't allowed to talk. It's a game to see how good their friendship is. The first round is to be hit by Gariki. If Kokorogi chooses herself, she will only receive 1 hit, but if she chooses Yuichi it will be 3. But considering Gariki's enormous strength, Kuroki warns Kokorogi that 1 punch is enough to ruin her beautiful face. As the countdown begins, without saying a word, Yuichi signals Kokorogi to choose him. Kuroki says from now on moving is also not allowed, but for this round, he let Yuichi be beaten up. After enduring 3 punches, Yuichi is still standing. For the second round, Kokorogi promises she will be the one to endure the pain. But when she finds out it's about losing fingernails, she ends up panicking and picks Yuichi. As a result, 3 of his fingernails are taken down. While bearing the pain, Yuichi asks everyone why they are following this idiot and pervert leader, when Gariki is way stronger. Kuroki laughs and says leaders aren't always the strongest but the ones who are the smartest, like him. They are the ones who have the respect of everyone. For the last round, if Kokorogi picks herself, she has to remove all her clothes and dance in front of everyone, while others will touch her. But if she picks Yuichi, he will be stabbed 3 times in his hand. Kokorogi knows it's something she can do, but still ends up choosing Yuichi. As a result, he gets stabbed 3 times. Finally, the game is complete and both are allowed to leave. Kuroki laughs at their friendship and tells Yuichi that girl can't be trusted as his friend. But Yuichi is not going to blame her. He is not childish enough to forget the reason for all this is Kuroki. Kokorogi hugs Yuichi. She tells Yuichi she is not afraid of him anymore. Yuichi comforts her and after giving his jacket to her, he proposes a second game. If he loses, he will give 10 million yen. But if he wins, Kuroki will lose a finger. It's one round of rock, paper, and scissors. The rules are, if Kuroki picks paper, he will lose 5 fingers, and if he picks scissors he will lose 2. But in the case of rock, he will lose nothing. And there is a clear advantage to Kuroki because Yuichi can only pick paper and rock from his right hand. Despite this, Kuroki refuses. He doesn't believe Yuichi can have so much money. But then, Yuichi asks Kuroki, if he considers himself the smartest, then he probably had researched his family background and knows how rich he is. Kuroki didn't do anything, but agrees, saying yes he did. After this, Yuichi increases the winning amount and says that even if the result comes out as a draw, he will pay the 10 million along with 1 million to everyone here as a bonus. Everyone starts to get excited and tells Kuroki to accept the game. Kuroki ends up accepting, and starts thinking how he can win. Knowing Yuichi can only throw rock and paper, he figures out that Yuichi wants him to choose rock because it's a no-risk option. However, he will go for paper. Because even in this, the worst-case scenario would be a draw in which he will still win the money. As the round begins, Kuroki throws paper, and Yuichi chooses scissors. Kuroki freaks out and says it was not agreed. But with a cheeky smile, Yuichi reminds him he never said he would only use his right hand. Kuroki gets furious and orders his guys to tie up Yuichi, but then the members of the management start entering the warehouse. Kuriki tries to attack with his full strength but is easily taken down by Tsukino. Soon, Tenji also comes. He is the one who called the management because Yuichi had a bad feeling about this whole special game from the start. As Tsukino is about to tie up Kuroki, Yuichi says there is something he has to do. It's about the game, and the punishment for losing is 5 fingers. Kuroki is about to run, but Tsukino steps on him, and tells Yuichi to finish it quickly. Before cutting them down, Yuichi makes a scary face and starts playing with his fingers. He gives an option to Kuroki to either pick himself and lose 5 fingers, or choose one of his subordinates who will only lose 1. Hearing this, Kuroki is much relieved, however, no one comes forward. Kuroki gets furious and yells, "It's just a single finger." But soon, Yuichi collapses due to blood loss. The Big Melons lady comes in a worry and immediately calls the ambulance. Now that Yuichi is out for some time, for the 4th game, the others have to play and save Shibei from his father's debt of 500 million. If you enjoyed the recap, please consider liking and subscribing this channel. Have a wonderful day ahead.